Hey, it's Bruce from Nature Calls, and I recently picked up the REI Air Hammock. It's a bridge hammock, and it came with some really cool whoopie slings, which I may or may not be able to use. They're not really designed for the kind of trees that I have up here in the Northwest, which are big, huge Douglas firs and cedar trees. And so all my hammocks basically have to have a really long tree strap, and then I do whoopie slings. So if I'm going to have the original whoopie slings with me with that hammock, but I also wanted to make some whoopie slings that are more suited for my area. And I've always been curious about using some bigger Amsteel. Most whoopie slings in the hammock world and ridge lines and all that either use the 7/64 Amsteel, or they might use, say, a Zingit or a smaller diameter for like ridge lines. But the 7/64 Amsteel is kind of the standard across the board. And doing the research on that and why, it's basically, I think, a weight thing. It's strong enough to hold the hammock gear if you set it up just right. There's not a lot of room for tolerance, and sometimes what I get into is some situations where setups are awkward, or it needs to be fast and quick, or the distance between the trees are really long, and so to get that hammock up off the ground, I need to really kind of put a lot of pressure on my suspension system. Then looking at all the ratings and horizontal forces and all that, the 1/8 inch Amsteel really kind of cures all my problems. So I got some 1/8 Amsteel. I'm going to make some whoopie slings and bring you along just to kind of go over how to make a whoopie sling again, and then I'll do some comparisons so you can see what 7/64 looks like with this 1/8, and also, of course, we'll do a weight measurement, because everybody's seems to be concerned with weight. I'm not that concerned with weight. I'm even though I'm all busted up and old, I can carry a good amount of weight and it doesn't bother me. I'm easily with all my camera gear over 25 pounds every hike, and I'm fine. So when you get Amsteel, or when you order Amsteel, you order it like through Dutchware or whatever, and you get it in 25-foot lengths normally, and that's really a great length, because what you do with that 25 feet is you cut it in half, and that gives you two lengths that are 12.5 feet long. And then when you make a whoopie sling, it ends up basically with like a 6-foot whoopie sling, which is just an ideal length. So I just cut my 25 feet in half. Now I've got two lengths of 12.5 feet, and let's go make some whoopie slings. All right, so the first thing we need to do is go over what you'll need. You'll need the Amsteel, and I'm using 1/8 inch Amsteel today. 7/64 is kind of the standard. Some type of fish tool. I use this floral wire. You can get it at craft stores or the florist. A Sharpie pen is always helpful, and I use scissors to cut my Amsteel. And I really like these Scotch scissors that you get in 3-packs at Costco. They can really do the job, and they can cut through anything, and it's a lot faster, I found, than using a knife or anything like that. I can just do it kind of freehand. The first thing you want to do, let's cut off this end because it's been sealed, is, oh, by the way, this red Amsteel is the same color as the REI hammock, which is really kind of cool. The first thing you want to do is thin out the end of your Amsteel. Now, what this will be is give you the ability to, when you're bringing the Amsteel inside itself, because it's a braid and it's hollow basically on the inside, if you squish it down, it just makes it thinner and easier to go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that now this 1/8 inch Amsteel has looks like 10 strands, and 7/64 has 8 strands. So I'm going to cut off half of those. just to make it thinner. And I kind of eyeball an inch, 3/4 of an inch. You know, if you need to have measurements, I would say do an inch to 3/4 of an inch, and then that gives you the ability to, when you're folding it over, and you'll see me doing this in a minute, to draw it on the inside. It just makes it thinner. I do a lot of eyeballing now because I've made so many whoopie slings. Let me see, I'll get this other end thinned out. You just kind of thin them out just right off the bat. It just kind of little steps. This is great fun to do when you're just hanging out. I have Amsteel kind of laying around all the time, and it's fun to play with. So the first thing that you want to do on a whoopie sling is to make a loop on one of the ends. And in the past, that loop has been what I attached to my gathered end hammock, and so you can make it a fairly small loop. What I've been experimenting with lately is actually having the loop at the marlin spike hitch end, so I want to make it a little bit bigger so it can go over the spike hitch a lot easier. Alright, so to measure it out, you need a certain length for the berry, and anywhere from 3 to 4 inches is where you want it. It's not really part of the structure of the Loch Brummel, but it really helps when you're wanting to bury it. So then I want about a good 6-inch loop or 12-inch loop. So we're going to go 4 to 12, so that's 8. And then another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's my mark? Let's do a 4-inch berry. That's 8 to there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this won't really change the weight of the whole thing. It's still 12.5 feet of Amsteel. And so normally, like when I've just put the loop on the gather end side of the hammock, I just make a little loop like that. So maybe 3 inches and 3 inches. But I'm switching it around, doing it backwards, because it has carabiners, and I like how the carabiners don't, wear and tear as much on the Amsteel. So what we want to do is go find our farthest mark and squish it down. And then we're going to take our fish tool and go right through the middle. So we want to go right down through the middle of that. We're going to take the other end with the thinned off part, fold it over, and then we're just going to pull it on through, just like that. Then there's my other mark for my berry mark, and we're going to do the same thing, go about halfway through so it's even on both sides. Then you go all the way to the other end of your 12.5 feet. Fold that over and then pull that through, just like that. Now we're going to pull all that 12.5 feet on through until you come up with that. And now we're just going to start pulling it down, and this is the Loch Brummel part. So now that is a locked knot. That's not going anywhere. And this is big enough to put over my marlin spike hitch. That's about perfect. I like that. Okay, so now we want to bury this part. So we just lay it over. What we're going to do is draw this whole piece here inside just to make it look nice. So you lay it down on top of itself. Then you go about an inch beyond your thinned out part maybe a little bit further than an inch, but an inch will work. You squish down your Amsteel. Now instead of going through the Amsteel, we're going to go down the middle of it. And if you come out of it, no big deal, just pull it back in and keep kind of feeding it down. You can squish it open, it slides a lot easier. So the wire's down inside there. We want to bring it as close as we can to this knot down here. Come on. Okay, so right down there, that's where the wire's coming out. You put a little hook on this end down here so I won't pull it through. Now we open that up and we put the thinned part, put the whole thing through, and then we fold over the thinned part. It's kind of hard to do with looking. There we go. So the thin part like that. Now we're going to pull the Amsteel inside itself. This just takes a little bit of kind of twisting and massaging and squishing, and it'll eventually start to go down inside. Now Amsteel comes from the maritime industry, and so they make things like this out of really big, thick pieces of Amsteel. So there you got it. It's coming out that little end down there, and there you go. Now you could just, it's called milking this back down. I just go ahead and cut that off a little bit. It's not structural, just makes it easier. So now we're going to milk this crushed up part, and this end part will go inside. There you have a nice clean lock Brummel. Very cool. Alright, now the next stage is to create the whoopie sling part of that, and we're going to take the end of the whoopie sling, or the end of the whole Amsteel, and we're going to bring it in about here and have it come out about here down the inside, and it's going to run along inside there, and it's kind of like a Chinese finger puzzle. So you loosen it up to adjust your whoopie sling, and then you tighten it down to lock it in place. So the key here, and this is all principle, you can make all kinds of measurements, but you can't bury any more in this section here where you've buried the other piece. So you have to go beyond that. So let's just kind of go beyond that a little ways, a couple inches. Squish it down. And this is where you do need to do kind of a measurement. I've tried lower than 8 inches for the whole berry part, but 10 inches, it just seems to work really well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right there, now we'll put a mark, and that's where we're going to go to. Oh wait, sorry about that. Let's do this a little shorter. So from this point past there a couple inches, so here's where the berry of the last part happened, right here. So we're going to go past that about 1.5 inches or so. And then from that point, I'm going to go about 10 inches. And I found that a nice length for burying and having it real solid when you're hammocking. Smaller than that is not, I would say that, I've had it slip. So I would go at least 10 inches. So what we want to do here is squish it. We're going to take our fish tool and go again inside. And we're going to work our way up. And this is where I like my little hook, because it starts to get in here really long. We just feed it up to the middle. Where's my marks? Okay, that's the second mark's the one I'm going for. And we get near that other mark. We want to have it come out. Come on out. There we are. So there it's come out. So now we have it, the fish tool, all the way up the inside. And we'll go to the very end of our 12.5 feet of Amsteel. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Put it through again, and then fold over your thinned out part. Now we're going to fish that all the way down through the middle there. Here again, it's squishing, pulling on the wire, squishing, kind of massaging it, not getting too excited about the whole thing. Just kind of take your time, and once it starts to go inside there, it'll actually start going pretty fast. It's more the beginning. There we go. So now it's inside. Squish it up. There we go. Now it's come out. So now that's the whoopie sling part. So it's riding on the inside there, and then to tighten it down, to lock it in place, you just do like that, and now it's not going to go anywhere. Then to relieve it, just squish it down, and now your inner line can slide very easily. Now the last step, what we need to do is kind of make a little handle, and you can kind of guess whatever you want. Some people do like 3-inch or 4-inch handle. I just need something it keeps it from riding back through this part a lot easier. It will ride through there if you pull hard enough, but it just makes a nice handle and makes it a nice clean look. So I just fold it over about 3 to 4 inches, go about inch past that, squish, and I take my fish tool, go back down through the middle, and I go down to where I just kind of bend it in half. That'll give me my 3 inches. Pop it out. Open that up. Now I'm going to take this little piece and put that through. Then I'm going to bend that over. Now it's just a matter of milking that down, squishing it, and I'm pulling on the wire, and I'm massaging, and it's starting to go inside. You don't want it to, you try not to pull that all the way through. So this is where a lot more squishing happens. You watch this little end. Now it's starting to come out right down there, and you can just kind of pick at it now. Okay, so now we want to pull that down so it's nice, kind of flush right there. Now we're going to just milk that out, and you'll see that disappear like that. Now you have a nice little handle. So now our whoopie sling is complete. Let's measure it and see what we got. So this is my Amsteel off one of my hammocks. It's 7/64, approximately the same length. 18 grams, or 0.6 ounces. And this is the new 1/8 inch Amsteel. It's 1.1 ounce, 1 ounce. Or 30 grams. So, I mean, of course there's a difference, but 29 grams. So, I mean, to me, that's not a big amount. So, I'll be fine with that. And I'll go over some of the reasons and the physics behind all this in a future video. That's pretty cool though. Okay, so there you have it. That's my new whoopie sling for my bridge hammock, and I'll be getting it out on the trail here pretty soon and give these a good test run. But I know they're going to be stronger, obviously. But it's always fun. You know, it's always fun and experiment. That's what I like to see is people out experimenting and trying new things and learning more about the philosophy and the theory rather than just relying on a manufacturer. So let's go have some fun with this, and I'll see you on the trail. Bye now.